Ethan Bloodborne, among others, actually wrote the same question and says there's a match listing on history of the WWF in the year 1994. It says Scott Norton wrestled Bob Holly. I want to ask you about this. I didn't realize this.
Yeah, I wrestled him in a dark match in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And they brought me in. New Japan, after you start with them, they want you to go someplace else for a year or two. And they said if I wanted to do that, and it was crazy because then New York called me up and asked me if I was interested. And I was just kind of like doing what Masa said. So, anyways, they brought me in. They would wanted to see me work a dark match. And I went and visited Vince and had a big talk with him. Then I flew back to Minneapolis or to uh, Washington, where I live, Vancouver, Washington. And then they set the dark match up, and they flew me and my wife to Fort Lauderdale, and I spent the weekend there, and I wrestled Bob. We had a pretty good little match. Came back, then they flew me all the way back across again to meet with Vince to see if we can work a deal out. And I'm sitting there with JJ and Vince and everything, and they say, yeah, we really like to have you come in, you know. And I says, well, here's my reputation, my lawyer. You work the money deal out with him, and they weren't, they wouldn't guarantee a dime. And, the contract was so, there's no way I could just say I'm going to leave New Japan and maybe work for him in the next 2 years. There was, I mean, they had no, it would have just been the worst move.
Yeah. I mean, especially with
And so,
Japan, what Japan was paying, I imagine you at the time as well. I
yeah,
mean, you would have been making very good six figures, I'd suggest.
absolutely. And the thing about it is he was offended. Like, I mean, he couldn't believe that I was, and so they took that match and they tried to air it, which is, because they promised me to be dark, and you know, New Japan said, don't even worry about it. And so I kind of got heat with Vince over it, and I've been asked about it. It's just something that happened, didn't work out, And I mean, put it this way, he was flying me first class, the first all the flights until I told him no in his office. And I didn't take a limo to the airport. I took a taxi and I flew home center seat coach. And I mean, that's pretty, that was pretty horse shit,
Uh,
because he had the limo driver picking me up and I was staying in this unreal hotel room. And I mean, he's throwing all that, then all of a sudden that happened. I went, yeah, oh, well,
hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, especially with New Japan, there would have been, I mean, harder matches, but less dates.
oh, crap. You
Guaranteed
know,
money, not just the promise of an opportunity, quote
yeah,
unquote. Yeah.
but, when there was no, it was my my lawyer looked at it, he says, Scott, you'd be out of your mind to risk this. I says, I believe me, I'm not doing it. So
Did they ever come back to you in 2001 when WCW was purchased?
no,
Nope.
no. I talked to Shane one time at the Narita airport, and he was just so kind and cool. It was great. And I was, he was nice, where the flights are all canceled because of the weather. And he heard that guys were over there, and he came over and we talked for like 10 minutes. And he says, man, would have been great if we could have had you come over. And I says, well, I'm so happy here. It'd be pretty tough to get me out of here.
Hmm.
And he goes, boy, they must be treating you good because I I don't think he cared for much for Japan. And a lot of guys didn't, it was tough. Japan's tough. I mean, it's just tough. It's hard because it's so different. But once you get in the groove, it's good.